Okay, so I've got this basic setup now in Revit that I'm happy with, and I know that these references are in the same place, importantly, because they both come from the same AutoCAD file, and that they're not going to move. So again, importantly, they're pinned. And so just to finish off that basic setup, I'm going to give my view there that's still called ground floor DWG copy 1. I'm going to give that a better name, just by right-clicking and going to rename, and I'll call this maybe ground floor image. So the way I'm going to use this is to start with the AutoCAD lines and use them where possible. So I'm going to assume they're going to give me more accurate measurements than the image. But where I don't have enough detail from the AutoCAD lines, I can always go to that view with my image and use that. And then just to make it clear, I've got the original ground floor view, which only shows the things I've made in Revit. So I find that's a really good setup to have, and I use that for almost every project, and you find most people who are experienced with Revit would use a similar setup. So, so a beginning point in many cases might be a survey drawing that would be, again, given to you in AutoCAD format, and normally you would just begin by maybe tidying it up a little bit in AutoCAD, but then inserting that into Revit. And then now we're ready to start making our Revit objects. And so I'm going to, again, use the grid tool to set out these column grids. So if you haven't used that tool before, it's on the Architecture tab. It's over near the end in the Datum panel on the right. Top right, you'll see the Grid button. So I'm just going to choose Grid. And then in the, oh no, so I'm not going to use pick one, so I'm just going to trace these. So I'm going to start at the bottom of this red line on the left and snap to the endpoint. So it should be a square telling us the endpoint. And then I'm just going to trace that line, that red line, all the way to the top. And again, just snap to the end of that red line, top, and you'll see it will put a number 1 in automatically. And then I might just keep tracing the other grid lines in the same way. So I'm going to just find the next one, trace it, making sure I'm going from end to end, and it will be number 2, and so on. So I've only got 4 in that direction. That's fine. So now I want to do the horizontal grid lines, and these I'm going to start on the right. And so I'm going to start with the top one, and again starting on the right hand side though, on that endpoint, and going to the left. And the reason is I want the bubble to go on the left. Puts the bubble on the second point you click. And when I finish this grid bubble, or this grid line, I'm going to click on that grid bubble and change that to an A. Capital A. Enter. And then when I go to draw the next grid line, on the one below, it'll automatically make it a B. Yeah, really easy. So it's useful in the same way reference planes are, just to line things up, but also you've got some shortcuts to help you make columns on grids as well, because they're normally to set out the columns. So I'm going to go back to the original ground floor view now and just show you that I can only see the grid lines there. Oh, just by, when it's selected, just by clicking on the bubble. Yep. So I'll give you a second just to make sure that's working, and then we can have a look at doing columns.